Around half of the students in District 2 are labeled as English language learners or emerging bilinguals. What is your vision for dual language programming in AISD? And what steps can AISD take to ensure that dual language programming best serves native Spanish speakers? And again, Ophelia, then Andy, then John.
So I used to serve as a representative when I was at Aikens High School for this, for parents. And that's another area that is very isolated. It's an area, it's a program that parents are, again, they're not engaged in how they could help the students in this program. So I think that as a district, it's just doing some evaluation of how we can better improve and get our students to feel part of the school. At Eastside, when I was calling parents, Spanish-speaking parents to a meeting, after spring break, a lot of their kids didn't come back. And they said, because, you know, I'm always teased, people make fun of me because I can't speak English. And so there has to be something that we can do so that students are not feeling a burden because they don't speak the language, but that instead to lift up their intelligence. I had a senior that graduated at 14 by herself, paying rent and having to work, and she had to learn English, and she was an amazing student. She wants to start her own business. So there are so many talented students in the program, and so we have to figure out how does that program also ensure that the students are also having success in their other classes, because the program is helpful, but there has to be other ways to help them feel engaged and respected in regular classes with other students.
Thank you for that. Let me ask you a follow-up for 1 minute. Just again, what is your larger vision for dual language? If 4 years from now, what do you hope has been accomplished? Expanding dual language options through high school, that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. The dual language is a big issue right now in Dust Springs. The elementary schools all have dual language. Parents want to continue. They're having success with their students, but the feeder school is Mendez. So I would like to figure out how do we get Mendez to also have dual language, because that is their feeder school. And if they don't have transportation, they are forced to go to Mendez and lose that program. And if they have transportation, they can go to Paredes or Lively. So it is very important that we ensure that as many schools that want the program, that they are able to get it, and especially the middle school, that the students are in the feeder pattern, that they are be able to continue that particular program.
Thank you. Now the question to Andy.
Thank you. I think that in AISD, dual language has played a vital part in really helping our students be successful. We have certainly seen it successful within District 2, and I think that as a district, we need to really expand it to all our campuses, because as we are educating our children to compete in a global market, especially with the way our economy is, they need to learn, they need to be able to speak more than just the language of English, and probably even more so than the language of Spanish. I say we need to be able to speak other languages as well. So I am in favor of providing more resources and support for dual language as well as multi-language support. It's like, it is my hope that as a district, that when every child leaves AISD, they can speak at least 3 languages, English, Spanish, and something else that will help them compete in a world, especially that is really not being confined by you have just no English or Spanish. I think that I know we have struggles trying to find bilingual teachers. I know that we try to get them where we need them, but we need more. And to do that, we need to be able to look at, are we utilizing our dollars to try to get the best and to retain the best? That's where our teachers comes in. And especially those that speak other languages such as Mandarin or Chinese or French or something like that. We need to be able to accommodate those people, those students as well, because they all play a part in making AISD a great district. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me follow up then. Specifically on the second part of the question, how can dual language best serve native Spanish speakers? That's about half of the students in D2. What things can be done to make sure that the program has fidelity towards that mission, that part of the mission?
The way that can actually help is that when you're in a classroom or in that type of setting, if the information is being provided in English and in that other language, then as students, they're able to see both. They're able to hear both. They're able to retain both. The information is now being consumed by the student because they just don't hear it in their own native language. They're hearing it in another language as well, the exact same information. And I think that by doing so, by having that collaboration, that allows our students to be more well-rounded as a student.
Thank you. And now for John, what is your vision for dual language programming in AISD, and what steps can AISD take to ensure that dual language best serves native Spanish speakers? John, you're muted.
First, I just want to say that schools are part of the society that surrounds them. So the United States is the 5th largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. People in Austin transact their lives in Spanish at work, in construction sites, and other places. Having schools reflect the public nature of Spanish in Texas and the private nature of people who speak Spanish at home and can bring Spanish to the school to communicate with their teachers, to communicate with the parent support specialists, to communicate to the front office people, opens up avenues and open up schools to parent engagement. Research shows that parents that are engaged in their schools is one of the best ways to create avenues for success for the students. So for me, dual immersion programs or Spanish immersion programs are a way of enhancing the abilities of parents, families, and students to be able to participate in the school and in the world. The other thing about dual immersion, when you see the research, when you see research in places that people sort of like do long-term studies, you see that special ed students prosper under dual language situations. You see African-American students prosper under dual language situations. You see that Spanish-speaking students prosper in these situations, and not just in language, but in science and social studies and other things. But the issue is with implementation. Me gustaría ver que toda la mesa directiva podría ir a una clase y entender lo que están enseñando ahí. What you need to know is what is actually being taught in these dual language classrooms. It needs to be a priority to make sure that the goals and requirements for dual language are being met. It is the state law, and it is necessary for the district to do this. So like Andy, I would love to see people graduate being able to excel in physics and Spanish and excel in physics and English and somewhere else. I think we can do that. I think creating feeding patterns and do that is a good way to do it. But I think dual language is a way out of our particular situation.
Thank you, John. And let me just bring up the first part of that question again. What is your vision for dual language programming in AISD? How do you hope that you can, what do you hope to see for dual language programming if you were trustee for the next 4 years?
There was a push this summer to put dual language implementation and immersion as part of the scorecard for the supervisors. but it was not put in there. And I think dual language is more than sort of a way to anchor kids in elementaries. It's a way of seeing the world. So I'd like to see science in Spanish. I'd like to see arts in Spanish. I'd love to see sort of like these cutting edge theater that's coming out of Spain, Mexico, Colombia, being done in Spanish across the district. I see this as a way for the district to join the world, to join the ways in which sort of like treating dual language as an afterthought or something special that's being done is a disservice both to Spanish language students and other language students as well. It's an opportunity to be part of the Americas.
Thank you. Let me do a follow-up to any of the candidates who would like to respond, and you can have a minute to make your response here. I want to talk about the district's trend to no longer support dual language programs because of test scores. While the research does show the dual language programs is a net benefit to all students throughout the course of their education, when it's first being implemented, it can perhaps lower a school's assessment on test scores, and therefore the district is hesitant to support dual language. How would you make sure that the district doesn't jump off the ship too early because of test scores at this level? And if anyone would like to raise their hand, take a minute to respond to that. All right, we'll start with Andy.
I think that sometimes we are too quick to bail out of something when we try something new. I think that when it comes to dual language, I say we need to give things time to kind of pan out and not just, okay, let's try it for a year, and if it fails, okay, let's just get rid of it. We need to really see something go through a 3 to 5 year implementation to see how well it really does work before we decide, okay, do we really need to invest more into it, or do we really need to look at something different, or has something changed that's better than what we're already doing right now? Thank you.
I just want to say that, and as John mentioned about connecting the world to our children to the world, here in Austin, we need Spanish speaker attorneys. We just opened a private defender's office, and they're having to find attorneys that are Spanish speakers, the court reporters. There are such a big need in the healthcare for Spanish speakers. So it would be a shame, and it would be not, I would not want the district to close this dual language opportunity when there is such a big demand for in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, again, specifically on what you could do to ensure that test scores don't derail dual language programs.
I think the fear of test score performance is part of a larger symptom that the district suffers, which is fear of test score performance. So the fear of poor test scores affects the way the dual language is taught, not as a robust kind of language, but how well will you do on the START test? Because if we don't do well on the START test, we'll lose our funding, and this beautiful program we want to save will be gone. I think as a board, it needs to push back on test scores as a measure of performance. But also, I think that just people should see it. Like, would you cut science from high school just because science isn't being taught well in this school? Thinking about dual immersion in these places is thinking about it as being as essential a subject as SEL, as language arts, as social studies, and just being something that now, 10 years from now, this will be something that the district will say, this is part of our identity, this is what we do. And in 4th grade, we didn't do that great on test scores. Or actually, in 2nd grade, we didn't do that well. We caught up in 4th grade, and we started excelling in junior high.